Good morning and welcome to today's webinar from Financial Cloud. My name's Chris Timemouth and I'll be your host. This webinar is entitled The Competitive Edge, Leveraging Convenience to Transform Collections. I'll now hand you across to today's presenter, Kyle MacDonald. Kyle, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate it. Thanks for everyone for joining this morning. Like Chris says, I'm just going to be talking through some of our kind of beliefs around kind of like convenience and how really we can kind of use it just to make experiences better for customers and for businesses. To give a bit of overview, I'm the CEO and co-founder at Financial Cloud. I've worked in generally across large banks through to startups with a predominant focus on analytics, building product and actual implementation of those products in varying organizations to try achieve their business goals. I'm more than happy to take questions throughout. So as we kind of go through this this presentation, if anyone's got any stuff that they want to ask, feel free to just put it in the comments. I'll see if I can quickly answer it. If it's something I think is going to take a little bit longer, I will answer at the end for use. But to kick off, what I'm hopefully going to kind of cover off today is why we think convenience matters. If you don't make things convenient for people, what I suppose that's really kind of the cost it's having in your operation. How we can use it to generally transform business kind of experience and the customer experience, and just some examples and actionable elements kind of off the back of it that you could potentially look at within your own organization. You could look at maybe products or solutions that are kind of on the market. So maybe just food for thought. Maybe just to kind of start off, I just want to kind of frame, I suppose, because everyone talks about all these different elements to, things to make things better for customers. People talk about, UI, UX, processes, digital journeys, convenience is another one to kind of get added in there. So I just want to kind of frame, I suppose, really kind of what it means, first of all, for anyone that, all this jargon that's get kind of thrown around, so it makes just a little bit kind of more sense. So first of all, UI, it really kind of concerns itself with visuals, okay, the interaction element of design. So whether it's on an app, a website, even on a piece of like mail or something you're sending out, it's how it looks, and UX and how that really comes in is it's more how that is then used, how easy it is to use it. It might look great, but it's not easy to use. So UX very much looks at around, how we can make that really kind of simple and easy to use. And you need a process that underpins both UX and UI, because again, it can be look really nice and it can really easy to use, but it needs to have logical steps so that what you want to accomplish actually gets accomplished in what you're looking for the customer to do. And that might be an individual kind of step in there. So, that they look at a letter or they go onto a web page, and the outcome that they eventually do there, it guides them through and it provides an action that you want to get out of them, a piece of information. And digital kind of journeys or user journeys, that looks at the full end-to-end process. So that's from the initial piece of communication that's sent out, maybe the form that's filled in on a website. The follow-up to that is the entire journey, the entire way through with a customer. So it can be multiple different processes, lots of different pieces of communication. It's really that kind of customer's full kind of like, I suppose, journey with kind of your organization. And all of these factors combine really is what kind of delivers. Either it makes it convenient to do it, or it's not convenient to do. So it's more of you want it to be convenient because then it's more streamlined, it's intuitive, it's simple and it's easy for the customer to do. And what you don't want to end up doing, this isn't something that people, if someone gets contacted about some, a debt that they have outstanding, it's not something they're eager to deal with. So by putting kind of blocks in the way, very much, we're not making people's life easy. And to go through, I suppose, like research that we've looked at really says that 56% of customers already don't think it's very easy to resolve their debt in a manner. And by making things easy and convenient for your customers, those companies that actually do that generally see about an 8% or 4 to 8% growth in revenue above those that don't do it. So there is tangible outcomes there. And by leveraging kind of automation there, you can make that an awful lot easier. And we've seen, it's not just all about kind of the customer. There is also business benefits there to that. By making things kind of convenient for the customer, you can build in automations and you can save time. We did a piece, it's 23-24 with one of our customers, and we saved them about 18,000 hours. So that was the equivalent of about, I think it worked out, it was about 8 to 10 FTE. So it's a substantial saving. It was about £250,000 for them. And these are some of the benefits that why I think this really kind of matters and why we should be exploring it more. Hidden costs really are, 85% of businesses say that they have problems with late payments. And their biggest challenge is actually the collections process. So, this isn't a small piece. This is wide ranging. It has meaningful impact. And I think the most kind of concerning piece is we often talk about convenience on our customers or consumers, but I think we really also have to look at it from an agent point of view. If the piece of software or the process that they're doing isn't easy for them, e.g., they don't have reliable access to information, like they're having to go between multiple different platforms to find out information. And a lot of places I speak to have got this, they've got a collections platform, they've got a complaints platform, they do their chat somewhere else. So that when a customer goes ahead and asks something, either they're having to transfer between different departments, which is just not a really nice experience for a customer. And it's not the best experience for an agent either. It's just having all of that kind of consolidated into one place. It just makes it a much nicer experience for that kind of agent. Because if they can provide a good experience to the customer, or if they have access to what they need in order to do their job well, it's just going to pass down. You can provide that good experience to a customer as well. So there are reasons really to kind of be exploring this. Now, I want to take through, just some short examples, like simple ones that people might already do, or they should be looking at for collections. The simplest one, I think, is payment links. I think most people do payment links these days. I think they're fantastic. You get huge uplift. It's a really simple way for a customer to make a quick payment, £20, or settle an account and so forth. And but the next kind of extent that really, which I think needs to become more prevalent in the industry, is payment links that deal with payment plans. Not every customer is going to be settling their account or paying their account off in full. Most customers are wanting to set up, a payment plan. If the balance is generally over £200, that they're going to want to take that in multiple payments over, a period of time, and making that really nice and easy to set up, and not just taking, something else I should mention. There's not just taking, monthly. Being able to manage 4 weekly, bi-weekly, weekly. Different customers have got different salary schedules that we should take into consideration, because it makes it easier for them and has an uplift, on preventing breakages, and providing kind of recommendations. So, certain regulated accounts, you want to put through an INE before you go through this. So just building that into the flow means that we're providing good outcomes for customers. And I really think that expanding payment links out to really kind of looking at kind of payment plans that they can set those up. You can recommend a payment plan, and very quickly a customer can set that up. Really does help. And how that generally looks would be, you send out a payment link to a customer. Customer clicks it. It brings them onto a page which gives a recommended, whether it's monthly, weekly amount. The customer might be able to adjust it depending upon what configuration options you make available to them. So they might be able to adjust the start date, the frequency, but maybe the amount is static, or the amount is driven by an INE that they complete in kind of the first step of the process after clicking the link. And then just allowing them to, we find the most effective ones actually Apple Pay. People 2 clicks and that is the payment plan set up, and then you can process that. But alternatively, direct debits, Google Pay, cards are very good for that. I very much talked about, I think flexibility is something that we need to look at. Like when we're using these kind of convenient solutions, we want to ensure that we're not too definitive over exactly what that customer has to do. They might not want to set up today. They might want to set it up at a later date because they're actually paid in 10 days time, and that's when they want the first payment. Ideally, they should be able to do that using what you send them through. You don't want to have to produce a callback that then ends up the customer procrastinates and they don't end up kind of doing it. So just making it nice and easy for people to change things to fit their circumstances is really really important. And that comes down to stuff like if making it easy for them to set up. I don't think you can really see in this this image here, but if they're setting up a direct debit, they may well want to go ahead and set that direct debit up tomorrow, but that direct debit can't be set up by tomorrow because you need X number of days for it to be set up. The options there could be we inform the customer that actually it can only start from this date, but just giving them that piece of information up front that it can only start from that date, or allowing them to go ahead and actually start from tomorrow, but just letting them know that actually the first payment, secondary to this process is going to be a card payment. So, they can set it up to start tomorrow, but, and we'll set that direct debit up, but, the first payments, the secondary step to this would be, we'll take that first payment as a card payment. So it's very much kind of looking at what customers need to do, which makes it easy for them, rather than trying to limit their choice based upon, I suppose, kind of what kind of technology does. Like I think these are things, it's little practical pieces that I think cause detriment to payment plans been set up. A letter arrives 2 days before a payday. They go on, they want to set up the direct debit, so it takes out. But because it's in 2 days' time, they can't set that up. So, and they might not be able to schedule in the future. It just creates roadblocks. So just simplifying that, I think is kind of key, and it makes all this money that we're kind of spending on kind of engagement letters, especially very expensive to send. We want an ROI in those, and if we don't look at the actions off the back of the engagement, we're potentially limiting the ROI that we can actually see from the spend that we're having on trying to engage with customers. It doesn't just need to be payments. We should be looking at stuff like just getting information, gathering information from the customer. Send them a link through on an SMS that sends them to a page that just says, well, look, this you're overdue, this is the balance. And fair enough, we've got 4 options, which is make a payment, set up a payment plan, I can't pay, and I refuse to pay. if they select, they might not, or they might have a dispute, rather than that being a call into your call center, it'd be just much nicer if you can just kind of take that information there, get them to fill in a form, and actually either give them the information back because it's readily available, so it can resolve it there and then without having to speak to a person. Or at least if it does need to go through to a person, you have the right information kind of gathered, and that you can start to kind of engage with that customer. If a customer, it's better to get feedback from the customer on that they're refusing to pay and understand why they're refusing to pay, than just for them to ignore a payment link going through. So, combining different forms of communication, and giving them different options that aren't just requests for payments, I think is really important. That can be even stuff like send them a link through to, if they're working with a DMC retailers, get them to input the DMC information, so that you have that gathered, and you can go ahead and you can set up the next steps automatically, rather than again it having to be a call, letting them manage that via kind of self-service. Self-service that we keep seeing is, folk are displaying a balance, take a payment, here's some transactions. You really kind of want to build your processes into it so you can leverage it to the max. Most people are actually wanting to use self-service these days, and it's not to say everybody. There is always going to be the traditional that you go through kind of the contact center, but where people want to use it, don't limit them to very kind of limited kind of streams. Allow them to do more. It really makes it more convenient for them, and it makes it more efficient for you. Going back to kind of the agent side, I think one of the areas that I've mentioned before is data. We're seeing more and more organizations are building out all these new services to make life easier for customers, whether it's adding a payment IVR, putting chat onto their website, whether it's different systems to manage things like better because they're wanting to kind of scale up. What we don't want to do there, though, is end up having all that data siloed out into different platforms, to make life as easy as possible for both your back end and your kind of agents. You want to be bringing that information together in your collections platform or your kind of CRM system, so that there's one place that you can actually view all of that information, so that you can service a customer effectively. And there's a load of different ways you can do that. You can do it via APIs, you can do it via simple things like SFTPs, or even just manually via CSVs. It's about having a system that allows you to have that flexibility, though, that if you're going to bolt on a chat or a chatbot on the website, make sure that data is available to you, that you can actually pull it down and you can see that conversation, so that an agent understands that a customer's already spoke about this. We're not repeating everything again. You can see the information that's relevant, and get a better kind of understanding of that customer. It really will benefit the whole interaction in your call center, and lead to kind of better outcomes, and ideally resolve it on first calls, rather than it happening via multiple agents or over multiple calls. Something else that we see people are utilizing really well is flows. So if you've got processes internally, is make it nice, easy, and well structured for agents to deal with different queries. Don't have it that they have bits of paper they're working off of, they're having to remember how to do things. If you've got like a bereavement process of information that you maybe need to gather, and some guiding notes and so forth to kind of support the agent, or you're raising a complaint, or dealing with arrears, you don't want to go ahead and script a call. I don't think that works really well, but breaking down the call into a structured manner so the agent has guidance on what information should be gathered to provide a well-structured and a good conversation, I think really helps, especially because it's quite daunting. Like I remember when I first started out in this industry, I um I went on the phone, and I remember doing calls initially and doing a lot of complaint calls and taking the calls, or maybe calls that you've not dealt with in a long time. It can be quite daunting, and putting stuff in place that makes it easy, that when you're in that moment, you know what to gather, and you can provide a consistent good experience to a customer that's well that's well formatted, I think is really important. Plus it means that the data that you gather is not just in a big note. If you're doing, for example, an arrears call, ideally doing like a fact find and understanding, when were they last paid? What's the issue that they're maybe in arrears? How long did they think that they're going to be in arrears for? When did they think they'll next maybe be paid, if maybe it was a loss of job, obviously in this specific example. But structuring that kind of information out, that the agent can follow it through, and then you have it in your database so you kind of understand that customer situation well, I think is really important. Some of the outcomes we see off the back of it. So a customer we work with, we did a case study with them. I think it was 23, 24 for this one. And I'm not going to say we were, we definitely didn't. All of these stats weren't just us. I always think, when you look at a case study, you do have to understand that organizations are putting in an awful lot of the work. So yeah, we probably supported it, but there's other elements at play as well here. But we think that it does give a fair indication, and we've seen it time and time again by implementing these type of solutions, that you do see meaningful increases in metrics. So the one that we did here, we saw 6% increase in collections, 40% increase in customer base, and 40% growth in the actual account acquired. So there's big efficiency and growth that you can kind of make on kind of the key KPIs in your business from implementing some of this stuff, and really it benefits you through the scaling process. It allows you, if you put a good foundation in place, and you make it easy for a customer, you make it really easy for an agent, it's going to be much easier for your business to grow than if you put these kind of roadblocks in place. And if I just go through, I suppose, and key things I think off the back of this that I think people should kind of consider are, look at your customer journeys. Put yourself in their shoes, and I like to go through, and I often I like to think, well, how would my mum do this? What issues would she have if she had to go through different kind of journeys? What issues would my dad have, or my brothers? And look at different kind of people and really look from their perspective on how they would deal with, I suppose, the processes that you have, and how can you go ahead and make them simpler, easier, and just work through it yourself. I think that's a really good kind of step to take, and instantly, once you've done that, you often come across like dozens of areas that you kind of want to tackle. That usually then comes down to the next point, is data. Make sure that you're gathering data and gathering it in a well-structured manner. That's going to really help you both from a customer service point of view, but also from an automation kind of point of view, that you can go ahead and using that data, implement things with ease. If data's messy, when I worked in analytics, 80% of my time was cleaning data, 20% was doing analytics. So, you know, having a platform that maybe just cleanses an input means that you're actually benefiting much, much more from the stuff that's value adds, rather than having to constantly kind of clean data. So really check that and input. For payments, look at the payment options available. Not all customers are going to be the same. There's lots of different ways that customers want to pay, need to pay. You know, whether it's some of those ones that are different payment frequencies, different times of the month that people are going to be paying. Put yourself in the customer's shoes. How do you go ahead and make those that they're nice and convenient for that customer to do, because it's your bread and butter at the end of the day. When I look at all these different points, it really does simplify it down if you have technology that brings the data, the communication, and the payments all together. Otherwise, you're working across the board trying to plumb different kind of solutions together to get a good outcome. Ideally, you know, you kind of have this in one place, and it means that, you know, change happens fast, and it's not you know, really kind of costly to do, and a bit of a bugbeater when it comes to making change. So yeah, definitely kind of explore that. Can you move in that direction? Is there technology which is going to help you there? That's something, you know, it's going to happen time and time again. You're going to be making change. Make sure that you're working on a platform or the infrastructure that you have in place. It makes it easy to do that change. It'll make it much easier for you. And that's all I wanted to go through today. I just wanted to talk through some of our kind of experience, some of the things that we think are really kind of important to businesses and the customer. If you get any questions, feel free to kind of post it in. But yeah, I appreciate your time, and hopefully that was useful for you.
Thank you very much, Kyle, for your time today. I'd like to remind everyone that this webinar will be listed on CSA website from tomorrow if you'd like to watch again or to recommend to a friend or colleague. And yeah, thanks again, Kyle, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.